Fact. Everyone wants some super successful person that they look up to recognize your incredible intellect or potential or ability and invite you to work with them. Clint, you've got what it takes. Gary Vee? Oh my God, really? You think so? Yes. Will you please be on my podcast? Can I invest in you? That shit won't happen. Your future mentor, guide, or teacher is not Freddy Krueger. They cannot see into your dreams. They can only see what you do in real life. No one is going to give you a show or a platform or a stage. You have to go and build that shit. Don't wait for someone to discover you. Instead, reveal how awesome you are to the world. Welcome to the Clint Malley Show, where I make marketing simple and more fun. And today we are kicking off our very first episode talking about actually building a stage or a platform. Now, it's appropriate because this is the first show, right? So I just wanted to talk first about what actually is building a platform. How do you create your own stage? How do you create your own show? And why does it even matter? Right now, in your mind, there's probably somebody that you would love to work with or interact with or have some sort of relationship with where you create stuff, right? And the thing about these kinds of relationships is that oftentimes they seem super out of reach. Like you'll never get the chance to actually interact with this person and that you're never gonna get a chance to work with them because they seem like they're on another level. But the reason why they seem like they are on another level is because they have a platform. They have a stage. They have some way that you got to know them without them getting to know you. Let me explain. Think about Arsenio Hall. Now, Arsenio Hall is a comedian, he's an actor. He had a really popular show in the 90s called The Arsenio Hall Show. And it was so popular that Bill Clinton, when he played the saxophone on that show, people would say like, hey, that was the reason why he won the election, because he played the saxophone, because it was such a popular show. And he was also in movies like Coming to America, and he had stand-up specials, that kind of thing, right? Funny guy, awesome guy. Well, in the 90s, his show kind of dropped off, and we didn't hear from Arsenio Hall for a while until he was on the Celebrity Apprentice.
Deal with the boss wherever possible.
So on the Celebrity Apprentice show, oftentimes these celebrities will have to raise money or fundraise for a charity or a foundation of their choice. And one of the ways that they do this is, taking out their phone and then calling all the people in their network. And so you'll see celebrities and musicians, whatever, they'll take out their phone, they're calling so-and-so up and they're saying, hey, I've got this thing, I need some money, can you give it to me, right? So on the episode, and by the way, he later won this, so it has a happy ending, but on the show, Arsenio Hall is seen taking out his phone, he's calling person after person after person. Nobody's picking up, right? And as the show goes on, he gets more and more frustrated. And he says something that's really important. He said, when I had a show, everyone took my call. Think about that for a second. When I had a show, everyone took my call. It was the platform that made people want to work with him. It was the platform that made people see that when he called, they would actually answer because they knew that he had a stage. And everybody wants to have a stage on some level, in some arena, in something that's interesting to them. And we would love for somebody to come along and to see our potential, to see how awesome we are, to see our skill set, to see how smart we are, and to give us this show, to give us this platform.
Whoa, that's fire.
It's like this dream, I think, that at least I've definitely had, right? Like, oh my gosh, you're so amazing. Can I give you this? Like discovering this person. Like you're in the mall and you're walking and you're getting some Sbarro, and somebody says, hey, have you thought about modeling? Right? Like, that's the story that a lot of us have in whatever avenue or business that we're trying to like be successful in. But that shit ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna work. Nobody's gonna do that. Or maybe some people have had that happen with them, but for the majority, for 99% of us, it's not in the cards. What is in the cards and what is in your control is actually going out and building a stage, a platform, a show yourself. And I get it. This can be intimidating. This can be daunting. Stage fright is America's #1 fear. We fear speaking in front of crowds or being judged by other people. That's just a normal thing, and that's totally reasonable. But if we do want to have some sort of influence, if we do want to be able to make a difference in the world, if we do want to be able to impact society for good, or to be able to work and collaborate with these people who have had a huge impact or influence on your life, then you're not going to be able to do that without a show. Now, shows look really different for different people, right? So some people have podcasts and YouTube channels, and some people are social media influencers. They're famous on TikTok or Instagram. Some people's platform is blogging. Some people's platform is their business, right? But I can guarantee you that whether it's audio, the written word, or video, you're going to have to partake in something of that nature in order for people to be able to see how cool you actually are, or how important the stuff is that you have to say. I think that everybody has something important. And in order to be able to tell that story, they need to have a website, they need to have a podcast, a YouTube channel, or social media platform. They need to have something. And no one's gonna give it to you. You're actually gonna have to go out there and build it. You're gonna have to take it brick by brick. You're going to have to do it step by step. In 2010, I was in the audience at this conference called Catalyst, and it was like this creatives conference for people who are in like the Christian culture. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not in the Christian culture, don't go to church, I'm not religious, at least not anymore, but I used to be. And at this conference, they had a guy named Seth Godin come and speak, and I had never heard of him. He's this short guy, he's got kind of this squawky voice, he's got a bald head, right?
And so if you make something that's worthwhile, if you are able to bring a technical solution to the table that will make things better, and you don't market it, you're stealing.
And he talked about a book that he had just written called Linchpin, and it blew my mind. It was all about how we're supposed to be able to be indispensable, right? Like, we're supposed to have a skill set that doesn't make us just another cog in the machine. That we have to be able to stand out, that we have to be able to create something or do something in a different way so that we're not replaced by machines. We have to be a linchpin. And this short book, this like really simple idea, impacted and changed the way that I thought about stuff. It made me realize that I want to be that. I don't like doing the same thing over and over again. I love creating. And creating is one of the best ways to actually become a linchpin because it's art. It's something that's uniquely you. It's your stage, it's your platform, it's your stuff. The other thing about Seth Godin is he has a rule that he'll never be on somebody's podcast or their show unless they've had 100 episodes. Think about that for a second. 100 episodes. That means that if you created one episode every single week for 2 years, you still wouldn't have enough, right? 52 weeks in a year, you need to create, 104? So 4 more episodes on that, right? And that's an interesting premise, right? And when he was asked, why is that? It's because anybody who's taken 100 episodes, they put 100 episodes into a show, is in it for good, right? Think about how many requests somebody like Seth Godin must get, right? to be on a podcast. He's actually really willing to be on people's stuff, even if they're not super well known, they don't have tons of traffic or traction, he'll do it. But they actually have to have the episodes, 100 episodes. And that makes all the sense in the world. Everybody, when they're starting out, they want to have all the famous guests. They want to have all the big speakers. They want to have all the biggest names. But somewhere along the line, that person who started that show started in a situation just like right now. Right now it is 6:31 a.m. I'm in a co-working space in Bloomington, Indiana. And I woke up at 4 or 3:30 because I was so excited to be able to film this. And most people, when they're starting something, are super excited, right? But the thing about excitement is it tends to fade over time. It tends to dwindle as the monotony or as the reps get higher and higher. And so with this Seth Godin rule, right, this 100 episodes, it's telling us that first, with Arsenio Hall, we know we actually need to build a stage in order to be able to have some sort of influence, right? You have to have a megaphone for people to be able to hear you. You need a platform so that people can see you. You need a podcast so that people can actually hear what you have to say. Your mentor, guide, or teacher is not Freddy Krueger. They cannot see into your dreams. They can only see the things that you do in real life. And the second part of that is you can't just build a stage, you actually have to stick with it. And I would say that anybody who's done 100 episodes of something has probably stuck with it for a good amount of time for them to be able to see if this is actually something that they love or is just something that they had an idea with. So this show, the Clint Malley Show, is really the creator show. It's for people who want to be that linchpin, who want to create their own stage or platform, who want to be on this journey with me to be able to amplify their voice to make an impact in the world. For me, right now, that comes down to just making marketing simple and more fun. When I started marketing, I realized that it opened up a huge amount of doors and opportunities and salary ranges and skill sets that could be applied to any business anywhere. And when I realized how much we needed marketing and how marketing is really the driving factor, it is the gasoline for all businesses. It is the way that companies make money. It is the way that people rise in influence. It's the way that people can change the world and impact their society. I knew that it's what I wanted to do. And so content marketing, which is what I do, is just making stuff, right? So it's a website, it's a blog, it's a video, it's a podcast, it's social media content. It's anything that tells who you are, what you do, and how you can help the world, how you can add value, how you can make people's lives just a little bit better. To back up even further, so let me just first start by saying I was a terrible, terrible student. I grew up in kind of a home that didn't have a lot of boundaries. My parents struggled with addiction and they were working a lot, so they were high functioning addicts, right? So the combination of those two things allowed me to kind of raise myself in a lot of ways. No one ever told me what to do or what not to do. So as you can imagine, I got into a whole lot of trouble and did a whole lot of stuff that as a little kid you probably shouldn't do, right? Relationships with girls, doing drugs, getting in fights, getting in trouble in school. Like my favorite story about this is that at the beginning of every year at school, you know, starting in elementary school, they have your parents are supposed to come and like take you to school and fill out emergency contact information and stuff like that, right? My parents never did that. I just walked to the bus by myself, I dressed myself, I got food by myself and went to school. And on that first day, they would ask me to fill out this information card. You know, it's an emergency contact thing, pretty typical stuff. And even as a little kid in elementary school, I thought to myself, why would I want my parents to have my phone number? I don't want them to know if I did something wrong. I don't want my teachers to have the power to be able to call my parents. And so I would change a number in there so that they couldn't call them. And so no matter what I did at school, no matter how much trouble I got in, no matter how many assignments I didn't do, they could not call my parents because they didn't have their number. And at least in that day, there wasn't a good way for them to be able to alternatively reach out. And so from a very early age, I was kind of left to my own devices. And so you can imagine I was a pretty terrible student.
Now push all that sadness deep down inside yourself, plaster on a smile, and let's crack on with Tuesday.
I loved sports. I loved being able to learn new things, and I actually liked the social aspect of school, but terrible student nonetheless. I barely graduated high school and started waiting tables outside of outside of high school. And I was bad at that too, right? I wasn't good at getting people's orders. I remember I worked one shift for, 8 hours and made 12 or 16 bucks. And it was a shitty situation. And they were opening up a dinner theater down the street called Medieval Times. So I used to be a stunt performer, a knight in the show at Medieval Times. I would joust and ride horses and sword fight for a living. But even that was somebody else's show. And sometimes the other knights that I would work with, they would say what do you think this is, Clint Times? Because I would try to do things that were off of script or things that were not supposed to be choreographed or said or supposed to be in the show. And oftentimes I would, be too intense, or I would try and make the fight too real or something and end up hurting people or pissing people off. And so from an early time, I knew hey, maybe doing this show thing, the same show, even though it was the most amazing job while you're in college, wasn't the thing I wanted to do long term. That and, my body was not going to be able to endure jumping off of horses for the next 20 years, right? And so I thought maybe I'll go into teaching. So, I got a bachelor's in humanities, I got a master's in teaching, entered the classroom teaching in the inner cities of Atlanta. Teaching was great because it was all about taking complex things and then breaking them down into simple step-by-step things. And at the schools where I taught, oftentimes it was students who were significantly behind grade level, right? And so you had to break things down because wherever I got them, I taught high school and middle school, and oftentimes there were skills that they just didn't learn on the way up. It's the way it happens in school. It's fine. But the problem with that is that teaching, like Medieval Times, it kind of had these set parameters. It had this set script. It had this choreography. Yes, Medieval Times, just like pro wrestling, was scripted. So who would win the jousting match at the end of the show, or who the champion would be. And with teaching, you would teach the same thing every single year, every single time. You had these common core standards that you had to teach, right? It's their way of ensuring that everybody gets all the stuff that they need to learn. Now, the problem with that, and the thing that was frustrating for me, is I didn't have the creative liberty or the freedom to be able to advance my career. In order to get paid more as a teacher, and by the way, I had student loan debt, right? You actually have to just be there and exist longer. It had nothing to do with how good you were at teaching, or even if you help students more than another teacher. It's just time. And that really started to wear on me. I started thinking how can I make more money? How can I pay off these student loans? How can I do something for myself? And so I decided that I would start this tutoring company, and I was gonna call it UpTutor. And so I started designing logos and trying to raise money, because for UpTutor, my idea was, hey, for all the rich kids who have a personal tutor, I create a tutoring company that this is simple one-to-one thing like Tom's Shoes. For every kid who gets tutored, we tutor somebody from a disadvantaged school so that they have a chance, because studies show that students learn best and can catch up best through one-on-one learning. But my challenge there was you have to raise a ton of money, you have to fundraise. And that's all about, startup cost and being able to talk with donors. And I didn't want to beg for money. I was tired of feeling that way from teaching. And so I said, screw this. I'm going to fuck it, man. I'm just going to go into the fitness industry, because that was something that I was a part of, that my parents were a part of, that I knew. And so I started a online coaching and personal training company, right? Malleable Online Coaching is about simple, step-by-step, results-driven training for people who want to improve their strength and fitness. So 50% of what I did was personal training, and then the other 50%, the thing I was really trying to build into scale, was online coaching. So people could film themselves and then film themselves doing a barbell movement, like a squat or a deadlift or a bench press, like something that you needed really good form to do that would help you to get stronger or to be more fit, but you needed some sort of coaching, but you didn't want to pay for a personal trainer because it could be expensive. So that was the idea, right? And there's tons of platforms out there like that. I wanted to be in that space as an online coach. Now, the thing I quickly realized is that if you're going to be an online coach, the key part of that is online, right? You actually have to have an online presence. You have to have a social media. You have to have a website. You have to have videos, right? So how am I supposed to show somebody who's in another state how to do something unless I myself am showing them in a video, right? And you don't want to use somebody else's stuff, because how are you going to be able to charge a premium rate if you're just showing somebody else's content? So content became the way that I was going to be able to scale. I knew that I didn't want to trade time for money like a teacher or a personal trainer all the time. I actually needed to be able to scale myself. And so I created a website, and I tried a bunch of different platforms like WordPress and Kajabi and Squarespace and all these different platforms. And then I started creating content, started filming on my phone, started videoing with all these different softwares and editing softwares that were super time consuming. One of the softwares was, hey, they'll subtitle your video, but you have to do it in one shot. And anybody who's ever done video knows that there's going to be 100 mistakes. And so doing it in one shot was really hard. And I tried to do that over and over and realized there was much better ways to be able to do this kind of stuff. My point is that I tried a whole bunch of content, writing blogs, making videos. And what I realized is that I actually enjoyed the process of creating content more than the part of looking at people's videos and giving them cues like push your knees out and hips rise first and look up. I loved the making of the content more than the actual coaching part. And so I started taking the stuff that I had learned and talking to my other friends who were business owners, talking to other people who were in the industry. And every time I learned something, I just wanted to be able to tell people that if it worked, right? I wanted to be able to help people. And people started saying hey, you really love this stuff. Maybe you should just do this. And I was like, yeah, maybe I should just do this. And then COVID happened. And so I decided to go into marketing full time. And so I used the things that I had learned from starting my own business, and I applied them to getting an interview and getting a marketing job at agencies and tech companies. And now I'm currently working with Sandstone Care, which is teen and young adult substance abuse and mental health treatment centers. Welcome to the Sandstone Care podcast, where we help teens, young adults, and their families overcome the challenges that come with substance use, addiction, and mental health conditions. My whole thing is that marketing and the ability to market opened up a ton of doors for me. I have no doubt that should I need to get another job, I don't want to, but should I need to get another job, or should I need to make money, I can go out there and make money if I need to. I can design a website, I can manage social media, I can create videos, I can edit podcasts and edit videos, I can write SEO optimized blogs that will rank on the first page of Google. And it was my experience that allowed me to be able to do that. And so I'm going to just kind of come back to that first thing that got me into marketing in the first place. And that's, if you learn something, share it with the world. Marketing has this, shitty rap because it's about people who are trying to sell stuff. And yes, there's definitely that kind of marketing. I think about, interruption marketing that, like when I'm watching Hulu and another fucking commercial comes up that I don't want to watch, that isn't helpful, that isn't interesting, that doesn't make my life better in any way. Like, yes, that marketing is out there, but content marketing or real marketing actually makes people's lives better. It helps to simplify things. It makes a way for people to find answers in a blog post. It teaches people how to do stuff. By the way, 99% of the things that I learned how to do in marketing came through free content from other content marketers, right? And so part of what this is I've learned things that have helped me to live a wealthier life, a happier life, a more fulfilled life, that have helped other businesses to sell more stuff or services, and that have overall helped me in a lot of ways. And so the things that I've learned from other people and the things that I've learned along the way and am continuing to learn is the stuff that I'm going to be sharing on this show. And so if you're a creator, if you want to advance yourself or your business with marketing, then this is the show for you. It's a creator show. It's a content marketing show. It's a show for people who want to make stuff, who want to advance their lives through making quality, value-driven content. So if you want to be along for the journey, click that subscribe button and comment telling me what is the stuff in marketing that you want to know how to do. I've got my own ideas of stuff that I am dying to share, but at the same time, this is a relationship and I'll create the content that's gonna help you the most. Until the next time, this is the Clint Malley Show. I'll see you in the next video podcast.